Hola, ¿cómo está? Muy bien. Let's dive into it, shall we? We are talking about philosophy today. Some would even speculate science today. I want to reiterate a video that I made a very long time ago. And let's dive into it, shall we? Have a sip of my Joe, cup of Joe. Let's dive into it. So, I made a video talking about how space didn't exist. Now, I want to clarify what I was detailing in that video and talking about in that video, which was one of the very first videos I ever made, and the very first big outrageous claim that I made that space didn't exist. What I was talking about or referring to was not just space in itself. It was the empty space. Empty space does not exist. So I want to clarify that before we continue, because what we're going to be talking about is space and empty space. Now, a lot of scientists, astrophysicists, etc., like to talk about the vacuum of space. Now, if the outer space was a vacuum, it would be empty space, because that's what empty space is it's a vacuum, right? It's trying to put something into that space, because, like I made that claim, empty space does not exist. The universe, or rather the environment, has to push stuff into that space. So, I want to reiterate that empty space does not exist, because we would all be sucked into it. A lot of people want to talk about wormholes. Now, that makes sense if that was empty space, a vacuum of empty space. Now, let me go back a little bit. I personally don't believe that black holes exist like everyone else does. I don't believe that wormholes exist like everyone else does. I don't believe that shit. Sorry, I don't believe it. That's a video for another time. We're talking about space in this video. So, in the previous video, when I say make the claim space doesn't exist, I give you some examples. At the time I was vaping, and I had this little squeeze tube, or not tube, like a little squeeze plastic jug of liquid for my vape. And I noticed as I was squeezing it, now of course this isn't mind-boggling, but I'm just saying, I noticed as I was squeezing it that it had to put air back in it, or else it would be just squunched up. And that's what made my brain realize space can't exist, because the universe is trying to put something in that space at very high, what would we describe it? Pressure? I don't know what they'll call it. But it's pressurized back together. Now, it's not just because we are in an atmosphere that does this. See, if you are in a vacuum, right? You've probably seen these vacuum chambers on YouTube, right? If you have a full vacuum and you have stuff inside that vacuum, it's not being vacuumed anywhere, right? So there's no atmosphere in that chamber, yet we can still observe the same thing. So don't claim that it's just because there's an atmosphere and the atmosphere has pressure. This works for all space. Therefore, empty space can't exist, or else the moon would be going into Earth, straight up. Because that would be the case, because there's gravity, etc., right? And then that pressure of the vacuum. Look, outer space doesn't exist as you believe it to exist. Let's describe a couple things here. First off, there is stuff in space. not just debris. There's gases in space. It's just not to the level of the atmosphere on Earth. All right? There's stuff in space. And that should tell you right there that there's not a vacuum trying to push it somewhere. If you were in space, which, let's say you're outside atmosphere, there's still some level of gravity, right? One of the reasons why satellites still go around the Earth is because it's being pulled around the Earth. And a lot of times you'll see satellites that are going slower than the rotation of the Earth, etc. Like, use your mind here. If satellites can be right there the whole time, right there, and you see it right there, and it's not moving, there's an effect of the gravity and of course, propulsion. Now, of course, once it's up there, you don't have to keep it propulsion. And therefore, we look at it as space. But it's not empty. Because if it was empty, there would be a vacuum effect. There has to be. As I would describe as like have an eyedropper or a Visine container, right? When you push that in, it's pushing out with pressure. Now, of course, that's pressurized. But then it has to let stuff back in. It cannot just formulate back to where it was without pulling things back in. And that's the vacuum effect that I'm talking about. Now, of course, if it's just space and there's light years between objects, etc., right? There's no real pressure, or rather containment, to pressurize the substance, right? This is an aspect of wormholes that I believe. I believe if wormholes exist, it would be based on vacuum. If black holes existed, I believe that would be based on vacuum. That would mean that there is a space, there's stuff and junk in that space, but it's vacuumed. It's pulled. It is moved. Right? So, we are not experiencing the vacuum of space. Astronauts never experience the vacuum of space because that doesn't exist. There is no such thing as empty space because it cannot exist. And if it did exist, then there's got to be some technology that contains it, right? Something like a wormhole, something that can suck you through the vacuum of space. And I don't know what that speed is. It's probably not to the level of the speed of light, but it's got to be fast. It's got to be faster than any propulsion system we have now. So if you can vacuum yourself, maybe that's where the UAVs or UAPs, whatever the fuck they're calling them now, they're UFOs. Whenever this aerial phenomenon happens, right, you can tell like there's a suction almost, or a depletion of gravity of some sort. So there is some technology at play, and that's what I believe, like if, again, wormholes, to be sucked through that. It makes sense, logically, physically, etc. Also, what do you think about space? If it was empty space, you can't see light. Whoa. Whoa. How can you see the photons and the protons if there's nothing bouncing off that light? It's impossible. So you need to see light through something. The reason why the Earth, like when the sun's out, you can see everything is because the sun has rays, photons and protons that are going through the material substances. This could be just gases, whatever it is. It has to go through it. Therefore, it bounces off of it and it becomes what we know as light. Now, light cannot exist how we know it. Visible light can't exist in terms of being out in outer space if it was empty. The only way that it can get to us is because it's not empty. If it was empty space, there's no way that those particles can go through and be seen. Because what I'm saying is visibly, it cannot exist. So when you see, for example, if it was empty space, like truly empty, which it's not, when you're out in outer space, you cannot see any of the stars. You can't see it. Now you can see stars in terms of, and I know a lot of people are thinking, well, you can see everything but the rays of the stars, you mean. No, you can't see the stars because there has to be stuff to see it. So if you were in outer space, you can't see the light of the stars. Now you can see the light bouncing off the Earth. For example, if you're looking at the Earth, it's contained in the atmosphere. That you can see. But you cannot see the star. You couldn't even see the sun if it was empty space. So I think I can make a short video on this one. I just wanted to reiterate that other video and clarify a few things. Because I did not describe it as empty space, even though in my mind the whole time I was thinking empty space. Because space can have stuff in it. And outer space has stuff in it. So, I hope you guys got something out of this video and understood a little bit more about the physical nature of space. And if there was a vacuum of space, that's what we would describe as a wormhole. Not just being out in space. There is no vacuum of space. That doesn't exist because there is no empty space because that doesn't exist. Despite what you're told. Where's the proof? That's all I want to know. Where's the proof? Now, I'm not one of those fucking weirdos that are like, we didn't land on Mars and all this stuff, and I'm not one of those guys. Even though I'm skeptical, I'm not one of those guys. So, understand what I'm trying to explain to you here is not anti-NASA or anti-astrophysicist. I'm just telling you that, logically speaking, empty space doesn't exist. Alright. Thank you guys for watching this video. Nice short one. Yesterday's video you guys didn't really even watch or comment, which I was really excited for those comments. Maybe I shouldn't have put that video up on YouTube because A, the wise move in silence, but B, I wanted to help you guys, but it doesn't seem like you guys want to be helping in that way. Not every video is going to be for everybody. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this video. Nice short one today. Hope you guys got something out of it. Hopefully it can help you think a little bit clearer. And we'll try to make another video again tomorrow. I have tons of content coming. Tons of it. I have like 6 on my mind right now that I have to give out. Plus I have a subscriber that wanted me to talk about alpha females. That might be a later date because I actually do have to think about that one. Because I don't want to offend everyone. And yeah, we'll make that at a later point, and I'm really going to have to actually think about that topic. But I have other topics on my mind, plenty more content coming. Stay tuned. It's the Mind of OPEX. See you guys.